Oh yeah, I mean that whole scene was the beginning of the end for like so-called nerd culture, as far as how how horrible it got. Like because now that's all nerd culture is a bunch of like people talk about fake nerd girls, but a lot of the guys are fake nerds too. Like that Chris Hardwick guy, they're just people who just buy a lot of shit. Excuse me.
They're
So
hoarders.
you mean like they're not actually nerds? They just like nerd shit?
Exactly.
Okay.
What it is like okay, being into that type of stuff. Like I grew up into comic books and all that stuff, and you would have to the actual specialty comic store. First of all, was like this is gonna sound like I had to walk 30 miles in the snow to go to school, but there was like one place. It was called Mike's Comic Hut, and then you would get you and a couple of your boys together and trek to the comic book place. So you would go like and take like a 20-30 minute walk. You would go pick up a stack. There'd be a bunch of people in there with just nothing to do but sit around and shoot the shit all day and whatever. And like this store, it was in Flushing, Queens, and George Perez used to go up in there. So you tell you would see George Perez in there, and he even drew some of their bags. It was a whole different culture. Now, like in this era of New York Comic Con, Marvel movies, whatever, it's like $1 billion industry. So it's weird. Like you watch, um, so like nerd culture is like mainstream culture now. Like it is jock culture, but people still try to act like it's this niche thing. You can sit in your house and not leave your house and binge watch every Marvel movie through streaming or torrenting, use Comixology or illegal sites, and like in a week have read every single issue of Spider-Man ever made or every single issue of Love and Rockets. But you used to have to hunt for shit. You used to have to go to comic conventions, and there'd be some weird dude who looks like the Simpsons comic book guy with shoeboxes with VHS stuff that he ripped from Japan and all this stuff. So it's but this is what is the weirdest thing about it, right? It was this weird kind of fringe habit, but we didn't have this kind of underdog, oppressed attitude. Like we still hung out, we still played ball, we still did things. We just like this kind of thing on the side that we didn't really show around the girls and stuff. You know, like I might go to my boy's house and then we like trade some comic books or something, right? And that was it was actually kind of a little bit of social death to be into it, but we didn't act depressed. Now it's the coolest thing on earth, the most normal thing on earth. Like hot women and bartenders and jock guys cosplay and are opening to Marvel movies, and they act more oppressed than ever. It's the weirdest thing. Like they act more like they're into a fringe, oppressed, um, embittered hobby than when it was actually something that people got made fun of. It's the weirdest. Like they're so toxic now. If you go on like on comic YouTube or geek YouTube, whatever, they're all angry and acting oppressed all the time. It's weird.
Yeah, like it is strange that like they act so persecuted. Like you would think that like people are outside with like pitchforks screaming that like get here, like you would think it's revenge of the
Yeah,
nerds.
it's a
Like
billion-dollar industry.
everyone like is fine with it. Like they have like cosplay days at like offices now where everybody gets to wear their favorite like Marvel T-shirt. Like it's mainstream. It's it's like watching I don't know Friends. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't change. Or, like it's not a cultural signifier
you
that
can
it was
bag a
prior.
bad girl at Comic Con. Like that is just a whole different thing. You know, like there was this guy I met. He had like a hot girlfriend, right? I worked with him once, and I was like, "Oh, how'd you meet your girlfriend?" "Oh, we met at Comic Con." I was like, "That's amazing," you know. And she's perfectly socially, well adjusted. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
It's
it's interesting. I was gonna hold this one day because I wanted to talk to you and both you and Q both seem like people that have a little bit older and have seen the extension of like comics for a long time. Like comics, it seems like the medium has been flattened tremendously in terms of like social significance, like even just in terms of just being interesting. Like there used to be, it feels like there used to be like weird shit that would
Oh
happen.
yeah.
People would just try things. And now I think because of the visibility, it feels like this is just another, Hollywood vehicle. Like it's just, it's movies, it's mainstream movies. It's all very straight and DOD backed
Com-
propaganda.
Comics now are basically the R&D arm or the content farm for the movies and the TV shows. That's all it is now. Like there was always a sense growing up that the comics were the main universe and the adaptations were always secondary. Whereas, and I think there's never been an official um, moment where this happened. It's never become official, but I think at some point, particularly for Marvel, because DC stuff is still fragmented and for the most part sucks as far as adaptations, right? But particularly for Marvel more than DC, I think at some point the movie universe low key became the real Marvel, the actual real continuity, and the the comics are just made to be adaptations of the movie stuff. Every time a new redesign happens, a new anything happens, they immediately rush out a comic that looks like the movie in a way that they never did before. Anything the TV show or comics do, they change the costume, they do whatever, like right on cue. So it's like I think the movies are the canon now. The movies are the continuity. That I think is probably the biggest. DC I think is still in flux because their comics are a mess and their movies are a mess and inconsistent. So it's a toss up as far as that goes.
I will say the animated universe in DC is still interesting, at least. The what fucking love the oh, is it the last movie they did in that current universe? Dark Justice League, uh, Apocalypse War.
Oh, is that the animated one?
Yeah,
Oh, I haven't seen that one, but I like the animation on those ones.
it's really really good. It's probably the best comic book like movie I've ever seen, honestly. Because like with at least with the DC animated universe, like they've given them more freedom. They're it's adultified a bit, which can
Yeah.
get a little cheesy, but like the story, the beats feel real. It feels like they're serving something, like they're serving an actual story as opposed to like just standard DoD propaganda bullshit, flat hero's journey nonsense.
Oh, the DoD stuff. Can you explain what you mean by that? Because a lot of people don't know about it, and I think that's a good thing to talk about.
Sure,
Sorry,
but
I had an emergency, guys. I didn't mean to cut out on you. But
Oh no, we figured everything okay.
yeah, everything's straight now.
Okay, good.
outstanding. Um, Glad to have you back, Vita. Um, yeah, so the DoD stuff. So if folks don't know, there are a lot of, I guess, connection lines or like the Department of Defense slash the CIA slash the U.S. government have their tentacles into Hollywood, and they have used Hollywood as a vehicle to push their propaganda. So, like, if you notice during like Marvel movies or whatnot, you'll always see some sort of U.S. Army or U.S. Air Force. Like, it turns into like a military commercial in the middle of it, and you're like,
Yeah,
what do
Captain
fighter jets
Marvel.
have to do with anything?
Yeah, I think Captain Marvel was the most egregious one as far as how deep the contract went. But apparently, they've all had some kind of input from intelligence. That was just
Oh
the
yeah.
most egregious one.
Oh yeah. Captain Marvel was one long, like an hour long Air Force recruitment ad. Like in the middle of it, it's like an hour long Air Force recruitment ad. Just jets. This is what you can do. You can help save America if you hop in a jet plane and go to your recruitment office. Um, but yeah, like in terms of movies, especially Marvel movies in general, and Disney, I should say Disney in general, right? There are definitely connections there where the U.S. military gives them, or the U.S. government gives them kind of money and support just to hawk their propaganda or their point of view. So if you ever wondered why, there's always like the military. Oh, the army has to be called in, and they're so objective and awesome. That's why.
This is something. This is a slight change in topic from the Air Force and all the intelligence, but I think we need a palate cleanser from that terrible propaganda you described by showing some positive propaganda, because what you described was just disgusting, and we need some good propaganda